Welcome everybody, it's October 24th. Thank you for joining me live for the relationships webinar, part 2 of 2. So thank you. This is gonna be really fun, I think. I'm joking when I say that. I know it's gonna be fun. I wrote some notes before we started. But before we start, go ahead and close your eyes. And take about 10 or 20 slow, deep breaths. With your eyes closed, take your focus inside. What I often find myself is I actually, with my mind, take my focus to my heart center, into my stomach, into my lower back, to find a spot in your body where your mind can take all the focus inward. And imagine that you're looking at all of the inner parts of your body. And it could be that you're seeing it as cells of your body moving around, or it could be that you're seeing it as your heart pumping, or maybe you're seeing a beautiful light. The whole part of this meditation is to keep all of your focus inward. It's really easy to focus outward. I'm going to really challenge you all tonight to take that focus inside. With your focus inside, focus on your belly. Exhale the air, and then inhale for 1, 2, 3, and exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep a low, slow flow of breath, a pattern and speed that works for you. Keeping all of that focus inwards, where all the answers lie and all the truth lies. Maybe you had a busy day and it's not 4 o'clock for you, maybe 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, wherever you are. So what I'm going to request you to do is imagine your day and you're picking up the energy. So start in the morning, maybe you went to the gym, you lost some energy there. You had a work meeting, maybe you lost some energy in the boardroom. Maybe you deposited some energy with some clients or on the computer. So imagine yourself going back through your day and picking up your energy. This is a very important piece because the more you do that, the more energy you're going to have. And just keep breathing. Slow and slow, calm and easy, deep and relaxed. I can feel a few of you might need or want a few more minutes here. Stay as long as you want here. There's no rush. Others of you are feeling like, oh, when can we start? We're starting. So go ahead and rotate your shoulders when you're ready. Stretch if you wish. Move your neck if you wish. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Coming back. Welcome, everybody. Thank you again so much for showing up live. It's going to be really fun, I think. I think it's going to be fun. Okay, so just a recap from last week, though I'm not going to actually dive too deeply into what we taught last week, but a recap, but from a different lens. So I'm going to basically explain some of what I taught last week very briefly in a minute, but from a different lens, using different terms I used last time. So if you think about it, a lot of our life, we're in a game of relationships. Relationship. We've all heard it 1,000 times. We have a million Hallmark cards on this, a zillion Instagram posts on this. But there's 2 types of relationships: the relationship with yourself and the relationship with everybody else. And almost everybody who I say this to says, yeah, my relationship with myself. But I'll be 100% honest with you. If you have difficulty in other relationships, your kids, your boss, your husband, your partner, that's only because the relationship with yourself needs a little bit of TLC, or a lot of TLC. So I want you to remember that as I worked with you guys today, because there's 2 relationships, yourself and then others. But others are just a mirror of you. We talked about a lot that last week. Next concept that I want you to get. So I have to move this stand-up chair back a bit. There we go. Okay, so I talk a lot with my hands. If you've never seen me teach before, think of the ages you're born. So when you're born, again, I'm going to use a lot of terms that are in my world, and some of these terms may not land for you. So I'm going to use alternative words too. And I would encourage you to do, if one of the words I use kind of like, I don't like that word, change it. Okay. So in my world, 0 age 0 at birth here, and then say 15 or 17 or 20 is here, 0 to 15, but especially 0 to 7, okay? At birth, in my world, the words I use is you are pure divine source energy. You are your God self, the closest to the God self you ever be. Other words, you're an energy of love. Other energies, words, you're an energy of innocence, of spirit, of soul. You choose your word. I'll keep referring to God self or love or spirit, but that's what you are at birth, right here. At birth, you're not like, oh, my diaper is backwards. I got to go into Instagram and figure out how to fix it. At birth, you're not like, I need to get Botox. Oh my God, I have a wrinkle under my cheek. At birth, you're the closest to your divine self that you will be until you start doing some work, okay? So that's birth, pure positive love. Then let's say 15 is here and 7 is here. I alluded to this last time, but as 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, we interpret the outside world and we sometimes experience trauma. And I talked about this last week, which might be that your dad picked you up late. It might be that your mom was always grumpy at dinner. It could be anything. But what happens as a result of these traumas is offshoots of yourself are formed. There's not just 3 or 5, there's a bunch of them. And that's what we call our subconscious. So I think of them as offshoots. There are parts of me that are frozen in time. There's a part of me that's 7 years old and 2 years old and 10 years old, and they're frozen in time. So that's 0 to 15, let's just say. And I talked about this last time, they're frozen and they don't want to get seen. So like my pen that I can't see it. And I go through life like this all day and I can't see it. Then think what happens next. You start dating usually when you're 12, 14, 15, 17, 20, whatever, doesn't really matter. Next thing you know is you're 25, 30 and you're looking for that person. That person is going to solve my life like they do in Pretty Woman. I'm looking for that person who's going to sweep me off my feet and take away all my problems. But there's not just you, there's all these wounded parts of you. Okay. And so you're looking for that person in earnest. Typically, especially if you're a woman around 25 or 35, you're like, where is he? Guys do it too, just so you know. I have a lot of men clients that do it too. It's quite cute. But what's happened is you're now 30, 35 over here where my fingertips are. You've got all these parts you've never really resolved, and you're hoping that this person you find takes care of them. Usually works for a little while, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. It works for a little while, but you haven't solved any of these things. You haven't actually looked at any of them. What you've done is gone, I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to look at them. I'm just going to go through my life. And then you've also got, now you have to work and you have to pay for things. So you've got that issue. You now have a job or a boss or clients, and you've got that issue. And all of these other areas of your life, I guarantee you 100%, I've been running my coaching business for 12 years, 13 years now. I will tell you 100%, everybody comes into my room, like no one comes in to have coffee. Straight up, no one comes in to say hi to me. They come in because something's not working. And all the work I do with my clients, every single one, is identifying one of these trauma wounds. Every client who comes in with a money issue or a relationship issue or a health issue is all identifying these wounding. That's what I do for work. And when you start to identify them, life changes. Everything changes. That's why I'm so busy, because as soon as people start to realize it and go, oh my God, this is life changing, then everything changes. And think about it, 0 to 15, your brain is poor traumatized. Then you get married at 20. I got married the first time when I was 28, met my husband when I was 22, 23. Like, boom, no wonder that marriage just blew up, because I had all this other crap I hadn't looked at. And so did he, right? And so you hear commonly, I know when I was going through my fall apart, I was in my 30s, and people would say, you got to get to know yourself, which is so true, but it's so Hallmark. I got to get to know myself. You don't love yourself, blah, blah, blah. But really the getting to know yourself is looking at these wounds. That's for the healing journey. It's looking at the painful wounds. And these areas, like I said a minute ago, they haven't been seen, they can't be seen, and they're hard to look at. They're painful. I'm not going to lie to you, they're painful. But the first few times you start to look at them, it's like, oh God, this is hell. But then after you do it a few times, it doesn't get easier, but it's not as, oh my God, I can't do it. It's just work, but everybody can do it. And like I said last time, all of these have to show up in our life, because the whole idea of why your soul showed up in the first place is an expansion of the soul. That's why your soul is here. In my world, your soul came to the planet to be of service, but also for expanding whatever it's here to grow into. How we know what it's here to grow into is all of those trauma wounds. Okay. And I know that might sound complicated if you're newer to this, but trust me, that's how it works. So 1 or 2 more things before I dive in deeper. All of our adulting life past 2025 is sorting out all this stuff. It's crazy, isn't it? It's really annoying to hear that. But all of this adult life, in order to live a happy, beautiful, incredible life, is sorting out these unconscious and subconscious patterns, because these unconscious, subconscious patterns run the show. Most of you know that. 90 to 95% of adult stuff is from this unconscious stuff. 5 to 10% is conscious, but 90% of it is all these wounding. Okay. So collectively, these are called our shadows or subpersonality. Collectively, that's what they're all called. So when two partners are together, you got two arms, and you have all these woundings. Are you ever in a relationship with somebody, whether it be your boss, your kid, your partner, and you fight out of nowhere, and just 10 minutes ago you had the best sex in the world, 3 days ago you just got married? I'm being facetious. Might have been 3 years ago you got married, 10 weeks ago you had the best sex. Then all of a sudden you can't stand this person. You cannot stand this person, or you don't know why you collide like that. When you do the work I do, what you start to see is that person, the reason for the collision of the fights, it's not one person's fault or the other person's fault. It's these two parts of them that are frozen. Sometimes when I work with couples, I'll say, well, you're being 7, you're being 11. This is your 7-11-year-old, this is your 11-year-old. That's all it is. It's super simple. And it's up to each person to heal their 7-year-old. That's it. It's up to each person to heal their 11-year-old. But what we want to do is take the 7-year-old and dump it onto our partner, saying, your job to heal me. And that's absolutely impossible. My partner cannot heal my wounded 2-year-old. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. He wasn't there. Okay. And he has a different story than I do. And it's not his job. Now, people always say to me, why was I drawn to this person? The reason you're drawn to this person might be their 6-packs. There might be because there's instant chemistry. And the reason there's instant chemistry is because these wounds I keep talking about, they're identical mirrors. They're exact mirrors. Okay. And it's annoying to hear it. It's really annoying, but you can heal your wounding in relationship, even if your other partner is not doing their work. Trust me, I live it. I see it with my clients all the time. Let's talk about a few hallmarks of these parts of you. So a couple hallmarks of these parts of you. How do you know a subpersonality or shadow is acting up? And then I'm going to make this relatable in a few minutes. Just bear with me. Do you ever have an experience in your life where you're going through life and you're fine? It's like, oh, I'm fine. Then out of nowhere, your emotion goes from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. Like out of nowhere, boom, 0 to 100, and you're a different person. You're like, what just happened? I was happy and I'm effing miserable. What just happened? Right? 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. That's hallmark of one of these parts of you. Another hallmark that one of these parts of you is happening is the person who says to me, I don't know why I'm doing it, Divvy, but I keep doing it. For example, I don't know why I'm having this affair, but I keep doing it. I don't know why I do cocaine, but I keep doing it. I need you to know there's no judgment behind any of this stuff. I don't know why I keep drinking, but I keep drinking. That's hallmark for a part of you, okay? Because it doesn't want to be seen. So it goes, have some cocaine, have some drugs, go hook up with that girl, do whatever you want to do. No judgment. So again, two that I've mentioned so far. You go from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds or 5 seconds. You're doing something that you don't want to do and you don't know why. Like you're like, when you're not in that kind of buzz state, you're like, why did I just do that? Why did I just yell at my kid? Why did I just cut that person off in traffic? That's a hallmark of these parts of you. The last one I wrote down is your mind keeps looping. Something happened in your life, this event happened, and your brain can't shut off. You're going in bed at night, you're like, and your brain just keeps looping. It won't shut off, it won't shut off, it won't shut off. That's hallmark of this part of you. And you know, like you're looking at it going, okay, well, he hung up the phone on me. I'm giving you an example. You hung up the phone. For whatever reason, all night, you're like, why do you hang up the phone? When you find yourself doing it, it's always parts of you. Now, I will tell you something before I go into the next section, that everybody who dives deep with me into this work, which is a lot of people, at a certain point in their work with me, they'll often say to me, Divvy, I'm actually starting to realize that out in the real world, out in the world, we're just dealing with a whole bunch of 5-year-olds walking around in adult bodies. I'm like, yeah, I know. No wonder our world is screwed up. People say it to me all the time. We have all this wounding, and people say to me, no wonder there's so much pain. I have no other way to say it other than, I get it. So you're at Starbucks and you're wondering, why is that person doing such and such? And it baffles your mind. I can tell you 1,000% it's one of these wounding. I'll say one more thing. they're showing it to me. If you ever watch reality TV shows, which are always fun to watch, you know, the ones that I have clients that actually film those. I have a client who used to do The Bachelorette. She used to be, I don't know what she did on it, but what she used to tell me was that she was like behind the scenes. She was like one of those people. She used to tell me was, and most of you know this, in reality TV shows, they go zoom in into the conflict. Oh, let's look at all that. And what I want you to know is the stuff you get wrapped up in reality TV shows through all these shadows. That's all it is. That's all it is. What you're watching on TV is just their 5-year-old, their 10-year-old, their 12-year-old. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else. All right. Any comments or questions before I go on? You guys are good? Okay. Okay, let's keep going here. All right. So I want you to do an exercise. You're going to type it into the computer. We're going to spend most of the class today in a specific voice that says, I'm not good enough. And I would honestly say from all the work I've done and all the reading I've done, is probably the most common shadow that we all have. How many of us have the I'm not good enough in some form? I'm too fat, I'm not smart enough, Okay, now you're going to type into the chat box what that voice says in your brain about yourself. Just you. What does it say? Oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, why'd you put on the 6 pounds? Oh, there's something wrong. There's Halloween candy there. Why do you keep eating it? What does it say? What does the voice say about yourself? One of my clients is a very famous actor. She always says to me, I didn't go to university. Oh my God, there's something wrong. Like, what does your voice say in your head all the time? Let's see what you guys wrote here. I need to fit in to be loved. That's a good one. You might make a fool of yourself. I need to keep my cool. I'm too dumb to do anything else. That's a good one. You need to be small and convenient to be loved. I'm doing nothing with my life. These are great. I'm reading them because I guarantee you one person has them and all do. I know this is a good one. I'm too much. I need to be contained. Okay, now I want you to do me a favor and I want you to wipe that over there. Put it all over there. Okay, wait, before I put it away. They said before we put it away, ask them how much. Oh, this is a really good one. This is a really good one that just came in. I need to be smarter in order to make relationships that work. That's a really good one. Okay, one more question before we go into the next part of the exercise. How much do you guys work with that voice? So the one that said, I'm too dumb to do anything else. I need to be smarter. How much do you actually work with that voice? How much do you actually get to know it? How much do you actually work with it? How much do you just ignore it? What do you do with that voice? That's my question to each of you. Just type it in. What do you guys do? Ignore it, run faster, do marathons, mountain bike at 1,000 kilometers an hour. What do you do? Do you listen to it and over exercise? I gave it a lot of attention. Okay, right. When you say I give it a lot of attention, do you mean you listen to what it says and over exercise or overdo, or do you get to know it? Okay, the other one is I argue with it. I learn to my business. That's a good one. 100%. Okay, got it. I get frustrated and mad or ignore it completely. That's the most common. What Emily just wrote, I get frustrated and mad or ignore it completely is the most common. I need to reach a certain financial stability to be able to have a healthy relationship. That's a good one. Okay. And to the coach coursing with Divi. LOL. I love that thing. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So you guys, I let it have too much peace of my mind. That is massive. I let it have too much peace of my mind. I feel sorry for myself. Okay. So a couple things, the 2 or 3 that everything stuck out for me. The feel sorry for myself and I ignore it are actually the most common ones. I let go of relationships so I can't focus on my work. Okay, so these are good. Okay, so I get sorry for myself or I ignore it are the most common. So in the next part of this class, I'm actually going to teach you how to work with it. I'm going to teach you 2 or 3 different techniques. Then I'm going to go into relationship because, yeah, they're saying, no, okay, no, not yet. Put that over there. Put what we just did over there, over there, over there. Okay, now brand new. I want you to type in and I did this to you guys last time. What is the most common complaint you have about your partner? Like if I had a microphone in your home, what would I hear over and over and over again? Like, he doesn't kiss me when I wake up in the morning. She doesn't make me breakfast anymore. She used to give me great blowjobs, but doesn't anymore. I hear that one a lot. The sex dried up. What happened? She doesn't find me attractive. She talks about himself. Everything is about him. That's a good one. What would I hear if I was a microphone in your home? What would I hear? Messy, messy, messy. What else would I hear? No one talked about sex. It's interesting. Everyone, okay, what else? What would I hear? He doesn't notice or appreciate the things I do or who I am. I'm going to use a bunch of these. What else do you guys know? What do you say over and over? This is good. Does not make me feel desired. These are really good. She only points out my flaws. I've never done anything right. He's too cheap. All things are about money. This is good. We need to reconnect and create more intimacy. Okay, awesome. So every single one of these, if you're open to it, I'm going to explain. I'm just going to say something, then I'm going to explain in a second. All of these, but especially I'm just doing the big ones that are screaming at me right now. Messy, messy, messy. Doesn't appreciate me. Doesn't make me feel desired. Only points at my flaws. Don't see anything right. All of these are you're looking for validation from your partner and you're not getting it from them. I don't feel heard and seen. So what you're doing, just play with me, just play, please. This voice that says I'm not enough, everything that everyone wrote in is 100% projecting onto somebody else. So I love the one, does not make me feel desired. And if I asked a 3-year-old, whose job is it to make you feel desired? They would say to me something like my train or my doll. It's understanding that as you've gotten older, there's a voice in your head that has so been conditioned for somebody else to take care of you. And I think I don't know, they're telling me I lost a few of you, so I want to teach you something else that's connected. So when you're a baby that pays a little attention, you'll see this in a second. So just leave that over there because I want you all with me. When you're a baby and you're born and you sleep through the night and your parents have the biggest party when you sleep through the night, and you pee in the toilet and your parents do somersaults. And then you eat your dinner with your hands one day and your parents literally jump up and down, literally. As a mother, I can tell you, I did all those steps. What I did with each of those steps is I taught my child that if they did X, Y, Z, I was excited. But how that brain interpreted it is, if I do X, Y, Z, then I am loved. Can you guys see that? If I pee in the toilet, then mom feels great. If I sleep through the night, then mom is happy. If, then. You guys see that? And then what happens is so if I do this, then everything's okay, then I get loved. Then also comes a voice that you're not enough because you're not peeing in the toilet, you're not eating your dinner, you're not. So 80% minimum of what you guys typed in about your partner is your own stuff. They don't hug me in the morning. Whose job is it to hug you in the morning? I love you all, I really do. They don't tell me they love me enough. It's his job to tell you he loves you enough. It's his job. She doesn't have sex with me enough. I know you didn't type that in, but I heard somebody saying that. Is it her job to validate you to have sex? Like, what am I missing? You guys, is this tracking? I want to make sure. Yes, no, kind of, yeah. I'm seeing some nodding. Okay, good. It's hard to hear this. It's really, really hard to hear this. I'm not going to make it sound easy. I am not standing here going, I got to figure it out. I don't know, figure it out. But I do know 100% that when I say my partner doesn't hug me enough, my partner doesn't do this enough, they're too cheap, they only point out my flaws, they don't tell me I'm doing anything right, it's because I have trained myself. My parents have trained me that if I'm in a good relationship, then my partner tells me I'm enough. See how that works? It's not my parents' fault. Every parent does this, and I know there's a lot of parents on the call today. And we do it so we can sleep through the night. We do it because it's so deeply conditioned in our society. Everyone's guides are screaming time out. So I just want to check in. How are you guys? Okay, somebody just typed in, wow, mind blown, so true. Yeah, I know. Comment, how are you feeling? Any comments, question about this? What's coming up for you? You're like, literally, everyone's guides are like, time out. See how they're feeling. It's so innate. How many times are you sitting at a restaurant and you're listening to a relationship conversation over there? And 80% of what you're hearing is, he doesn't do this enough and she doesn't do that enough. That's because that part of your brain is trained that when they do this, then ... then I feel better. Does that make sense? I'm just going to read this next one though. This is bang on, Chad, bang on. This is why I find it so seductive to focus on work. I get tons of validation through work. It's very addictive and an easy way to avoid the hard way. You nailed it. I'll finish the sentence. I just got so excited. I go to work because I get validation. It's easy. I get lots of it there, and I can totally relate, Chad. Tons of validation at work. I go home and I just cook dinner for my family. And I might hear dinner was okay later, but I probably won't unless I ask them, which just so you know, I will. But I don't get that validation at home. So where do I go? I go to work. See, at work, so I can totally relate, Chad. But and my hand is burning for you, Chad. Where the work is in your relationship. And when you work on the pieces in the relationship, then work even takes off even more. They're saying not say it that way. If we stop looking for love outside of ourselves, if we work on the voice that says, I'm not good enough, which I'm going to take you into some exercise in a few minutes here. If we're willing to work on the voice that says, I'm not enough, then everything changes. Then I guarantee you about 80% of your chronic conversations at home will go away. Does that make sense? 80% of your chronic conversations at home will go away when you start healing this voice that says you're not enough. Does that land before I keep going? You guys are still with me. I want to make sure. Go. Okay. And we'll get to healing in a second. How do you deal with the thought? Just like I'm going to read this question. How do you deal with that? Well, validation, appreciation feels great. So where else is supposed to get it from, if not from others? Or we're saying that we just shouldn't need. Yeah, I'll get to that. That's a fantastic question, Anthony. I'm gonna loop back to it because it'll make sense after. It's a great point. Okay, so I'm gonna put Anthony's question over here. We'll come because it'll make sense in a second. Okay, one more point I want to make before I answer that question, teach you some more work. Most people come to the work I do are really, really, really sensitive, highly intuitive, highly sensitive. They feel energy everywhere. Is that fair to say? Most of you guys are highly sensitive. Okay. So I'm going to loop that into I'm not good enough conversation. They walk into the house, the dinner is made, and no one says it's amazing. No one says applause. No one says, I took you out for dinner. Good. Like no one says anything. And then we internalize, and I'll say it slightly differently. We have taught ourselves that our validation comes from outside, from what people say to us or how they look at us or how they touch us. But that's where we leak our energy. That's where we give up part of ourselves. I'll take it one step further for people that are sensitive. Another common thing, I'm speaking about myself, but a lot of people on the call. Highly sensitive people also have this idea that our job is to fix things out there. So how many of us, when our mother or father, just by show of hands or type in, how many of us when we were younger, our mother or father would not be doing well, but we would always figure out what to say, how to smile, what joke to make them feel better? How many of us did that as kids? Yeah, it's okay, great. You did that too, Chad. Okay, I did that so much. Big yes, Anya. Unfortunately, that is the biggest falsity we can teach our kid, because this is what happens for sensitive. We go through a day, I'm talking about myself, go through a day, we come home, and our kid or husband, that's my case, aren't doing well. My dog's usually great. Come home, my kid and husband aren't well. How do I know? Because I can feel it. I walk in there like, oh, they're not well. Guess what I instantly do? Brain goes, number one, what did I do? Okay, I'm just gonna go through the steps that my brain does. Number one, what did I do wrong? Did I leave something out? Did I do something wrong? What did I do? Number two, it does is, okay, what do I have to do to fix it? Remember, because as a kid, who made her dad happy? I did. Who made mom happy? I did. So what do I keep doing as an adult now? Making sure my husband and son are okay. Do you see how it's a perpetual cycle? And the thing is, it's not our job. And we can't, Emily, when we go about trying to fix them and we don't succeed because we can't, it's not our job. When we can't, guess what we make it mean? We're not enough. Can you see the cycle that most sensitives get into? Is this tracking? Okay. So we have to undo the concept that it's our job to fix it. We have to undo the concept that if we walk into the house and we can tell 100 steps away that they're not well, we have to start conversations like, hey, babe, what's up? Had a rough day. Yeah, I can tell. You want to talk about it? No. Then we just drop it. We don't go, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, which is what a lot of us do. Another one, hey, babe, what's wrong? Hard day. Do you want to talk about it? Sure. And then they start talking about it. Then you're busy fixing it. Seriously? They just want to vent. Do you guys see how this becomes so intertwined? And then what happens is they're venting or they're wanting help. What we're doing as sensitives is, how can I fix? How can I fix? How can I fix? Why do we do that? For validation. Because then I matter, then I'm important, then everything's okay. Does it make any sense when it comes to relationships? And this applies to partner, kid, client, boss, and really all relationships. I want to check in. How are you guys doing? Any comments or questions before I address some of these questions? We're good? Okay. Okay. So let me, want to vent to do, yeah, that's exactly, so that's a great point, Zenny. I was going to say that. When I go home, my partner's had a hard day, which happens sometimes. I'll say to him, do you want to vent or do you want, my word, do you want coaching? What do you want? And 90% of the times, he just wants to vent, honestly. But because A, I'm a coach, B, I'm a fixer, and C, I took care of my dad emotionally, guess what I do? Before I used to, guess what I do? I go into coaching mode, then I resent him because then he doesn't get better, then I get mad, and then it's a spiral. You see how that happens? Instantly. And it's my own stuff because I decided it was my job to take care of his emotional realm. He does the exact same thing back to me because he's highly sensitive too. When I get home, I will be very clear. You know, if I've had a hard day, I'll be very clear. Look, babe, I just had a hard day. I just want to babble. And he'll be like, okay. And sometimes he'll be like, look, I want help. But if you're really clear, like Xenia said, you have magic right there. I'm going to say one more thing before I answer Anthony's question, teaching you guys what to do with not good enough things. I want me to say one more thing. The more we can be clear about us taking care of ourselves, the more we can take care of our relationship with ourselves, the more we can be of service to the other person. The more we can be clear of not just our boundaries, but what we're holding, the more that we can be in partnership. I'll say one more thing before the other things out of that too. If you wake up every morning and you go up to your partner and say, you didn't hug me, I'm going to encourage you to time out and go, why do I need to be hugged? Why do I need that validation? Why? That's where the magic is. Because what you're doing, as soon as you say they're not doing it, you're literally projecting your stuff onto them like a splatter paint. That makes sense? Okay. So let's keep going. And I'm going to answer Anthony's question later. They're saying first teach them how to work with the not good enough voice. Okay. So as you can see, the majority of today's conversation about relationships is a lot of it's about addressing the I'm not good enough. That's really what we're doing today, is the I'm not good enough voice. Now, I'm going to teach you, they're telling me 3. I know 2. I'm going to teach you 3 different techniques on how to work with the I'm not good enough. Probably more. Number 1, admit it's there. Miss Emily, Miss Kimber, admit it's there. Okay. Talk about it in third person. There's a part of me that says I suck. There's a part of me that and have a group of people around you that you can talk about it with, right? So I have a really great girlfriend. Her name is Sharon, and we'll go for walks, and she's also an intuitive coach. And we'll go for walks, and we'll laugh. We'll say, yeah, the part of me that thought I wasn't good enough, thought I should post 1,000 times a day on Facebook. I'm like, oh my God, I did that too. And we'll laugh because we're talking about the part of us that runs our life. Or like we'll be talking about business stuff because we're good friends. We do the same type of work. And she'll say, yeah, Debbie, for some reason, this person just won't pay me. And I have a hard time asking them. And we'll laugh. We'll go, that is so funny that that part of us is stepping in. So we talk about it out loud. We banter and we talk about it in the third person. See it? That part of myself. And so it's almost like calling it out for its stripes. Because right now, kind of like a few of you said, I ignore it. But guess what? It's running the show. It is your, not CD-ROM, it's your operating system. It's the operating system in your brain. But until you call it out, you can't upgrade the operating system. You have to say, okay, there you are. Okay, that's number 1 to do with not good enough. Talk about it in the third person. Well, there are going to be more than 3 steps. Number 2, meditate. For most people who have the I'm not good enough, it sits in different parts of your body. But there's a lot of people, for a lot of people, it sits in the shoulders because it really affects the heart chakra. If you have a lot of shoulder pain or, the upper back pain that people commonly get in their scapulas, that's very commonly heart chakra being shut down. Okay. And so, when that lands, like you said, Daria, that's the I'm not enough that's in my body. So meditation is super important so you can figure out where in your body it sits. The common areas are neck, upper back, heart chakra, shoulders, and stomach. Lower back for some people, hips for some people, but those are the most common areas it sits. They're having me feel my feet. I don't know. For some of you, it's in your feet. But those are the most common areas that I just pointed out. So meditate, get to know it, talk about it in the third person. Journal from it. This is a phenomenal exercise. I taught this in the Mind, Body, Spirit course the other day. It's one of my favorite ways to do it. So you get a pen and paper. and I write, I'm going to be interviewing her. Like I'm like a journalist. So I'm going to say Divi and then not good enough. So I'm going to be Divi and then I'm going to talk to, and I do it by writing. So I'm going to ask the party that's not good enough. So I'm pretending like I'm doing it with you guys right now. Divi asks not good enough. Hey, so why are you there? So I write that down. So this is called automatic writing when you just start writing. So I ask, so I write, so why are you there? I'm actually doing this right now. So why are you there? Then I close my eyes and I get centered with the part that's not good enough. And then the next thing that comes out of my pen, I'm there because I think you suck. And then I would write, and this is just what's going to come out of my pen. It would be different for you. Then I would write, why do you think I suck? Then my not good enough part would be, because you left the can of soup open on the counter. That literally just came out of my mouth. Then I would say, okay, so why else do you think you suck? Well, don't you remember when you were 5, such and such happened, and then this happened, and then the teacher said this, then you start writing. And then, you know, I might ask it, like, and just be in conversation from it. What more do you want from me? And the more you can get in conversation with it, the more you can understand the rooting. I'll teach you 1 or 2 more things. The big thing about these parts of us, and this will answer Anthony's question, this wounded part of us, take a wild guess and just type it into the chat box. Take a wild guess where its greatest, oh God, okay. Take a guess as to where it can receive love the most. Take a guess. This wounded part of me that says she's not good enough, who's the best to love it besides my dog? Who's the best to love the I'm not good enough? Who's the best person who can love her? Xenia, you nailed it. You passed ICT, that's a joke. Myself. Barbara, you too. That's a total joke. Only you can heal the I'm not good enough. Not me, not Emily, not Nicole, not Anthony. No one else can other than you. Other than you. And if you go on to Insight Timer and pull up some apps, like pull up Insight Timer, which is an app on your phone, and you plug in inner child meditations, those are great because this not good enough is just an inner child that's screaming. To answer your question, Anthony, yes, validation is addictive. It very much is. It sends oxytocin into your brain, sends that feel-good serotonin into your brain. It's awesome. But the thing is, when I'm hooked on another person for validation, then I all of a sudden give up my power. I like give up all of myself. And then I'm constantly going back to them with I'm seeing an empty can. I'm constantly going back to them going, can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? And that's when you lose your power. So let me know, and I get it. It feels good. But to answer your question, if the only place to look for validation from is yourself, and I got to be honest with you, I get tons of validation from clients all the time. But one thing I learned really early in my days is if I put my self-esteem as to who I am or who I am as a coach onto somebody else, I'm hooped. Because one day they'll like me, one day they won't. Simple as that. For those of you who live in Vancouver, we have a new mayor. Some of you know him, Ken Sims. He's actually the father of one of my son's really good friends. So, you know, and I have a lot of clients who know him and work with him and stuff like that. And one of those clients the other day, we were talking about, you know, how everybody is Ken's new best friend. Everybody wants to know, hey, can you work on this? Hey, can you work on that? Like everybody in the world is his new best friend. He's the mayor. Wait 6 months, wait 9 months, wait a year, right? Because right now he's getting a lot of validation from the outside world. 9 months here, people are going to be like, I can't believe you did this wrong. I can't believe you did that wrong. So just think of somebody like him. We're no different than him. If he's out there looking for validation from the people who live up and down Broadway, and then he does something over here that upsets them, then his sense of validation totally is out the window. The only place to find validation is within yourself. If you give it to somebody else, your partner, your kid, your dog, you're going to be forever having a very hard life. The word I just heard was mortified. That's the word I just heard. Okay, I want to check if there's any questions, but I'm going to teach you one more exercise to work with the I'm not good enough. Any comments or questions before I teach you one more exercise? Okay, so I'm going to teach this like I had 2 chairs. I teach this sometimes in live workshops, but I'm going to make it look like I have 2 chairs, but I'm actually going to go back and forth. So instead, I could move back and forth to my 2 chairs. It's going to be too much. So I'm just going to, when I'm going to face this way, this is very similar to the writing exercise, or I'm going to face this way. Okay. All right. It's a really powerful exercise to do this. And if you have 2 chairs, ideally you do it between the 2 chairs. You sit in one chair and you talk to the other chair, and you get up and you go to the other chair, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Basically, the 2 chair exercise, or the one I'm going to teach you right now, it's the same thing, is about you talking to that part of you. So again, I showed it to you when I wrote it out, same thing. So if you're not a writer and you're better at talking, you can do it out loud too. So when I face this way, I'm Divi. When I face this way, I'm not good enough. Okay, and this is different than the writing exercise. This is different. This is different in the terms of what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to start with the I'm not good enough, and I'm going to actually be real right now. I'm going to pretend like I'm doing the exercise for myself. Oh geez. Okay. It's very vulnerable when I do this. Just give me a sec. I'll see what comes through. I can't believe you did that thing you did. And guys, just so you know, because it's really personal, I'm not going to go into total detail. Just so you know, I can't believe you did that. You're such an idiot. Yeah, but I learned so much from it. Yeah, but really? Like seriously? Like that was like, are you nuts? Yeah, but you know what? My growth through it was major, like absolutely major. Yeah, but you suck. And do you see how it becomes an argument back and forth? What eventually happens the more you do it, when you go back to just Divi, what eventually happens is she gets louder. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it usually takes about 10 minutes, okay, give or take. When I coach clients in person doing the same exercise, it takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So then I'm actually physically getting up and going back and forth. And you do it until the voice of Divi or Kimber or Barbara holds more ownership over the I'm not good enough part. Does that make sense? Holds more, and it might take you 4 or 5 exercises, or, you know, if you guys get stuck trying it, just let me know. I'll be happy to help you. It's a very simple exercise, but it's very, very powerful. It's actually called Gestalt therapy, where you go back and forth. I want to check if there's any comments or questions before I take you into one more exercise. Okay. It's loud, and I had forgotten about it, but I wrote it down, and then my guides reminded me a few minutes ago. They're like, you didn't talk about this part. Okay. You guys know that you have what's called a relationship guide? Do you know that? A guide that is here for your relationship. So we're going to do a mini meditation, not too long, don't worry. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take 5 or 10 deep breaths in and out, and just be present with yourself. Just breathe in and out. With your eyes closed, be present and just breathe in and out. Belly rises and belly falls. On your next breath, your eyes closed, taking yourself into a beautiful place in nature. See it with all your senses. The colors, the smells, the temperature against your skin, just feel it and be present. Feel the safety of this beautiful place. Let all of your senses show up. Feel how relaxed you feel and how calm you feel. Just breathe. Now, in your mind's eye, imagine that a person is standing in front of you. This is the person you squabble the most with in your life. It could be your partner. It could be your boss, your child, your grade 10 teacher, your father, your mother. I don't care who you bring in, your sibling. And I want you to imagine the common dialogue that happens, the common fight, the common argument, just the common mismatch that occurs. And just breathe into it. Just see the fight in front of your mind's eye. Just see it. The arguments, statements, the unhappiness, and just breathe. See it like you're watching a TV screen. And be present to it. And be present to your normal emotional response. How would you normally respond? Maybe with anger or angst or sadness, looking for approval. How do you normally respond? Now, on your next breath, imagine I took a white screen and put it across your mind. So we're going to enter into a new response. So white screen your mind, let that go back into your place in nature, let that vision just go. On your next breath, walking into this place in nature is your relationship guide. We have a guide for every part of our life. We have a money guide, we've got a health guide. We also have a relationship guide. We have a guide who's here to serve us in our relationships. So bring that guide into your presence. Now, if this is the first time you've ever worked with guides, don't worry about it. You have to think. The presence of love will be present for you. And it might look like a person, or like an angel. It might look like somebody you know. It doesn't really matter. But there's an entity here called your relationship guide who actually wants to help you in the situation, who wants you to help you either stand up for yourself, speak love, whatever. But I want you to get clear that this relationship guide has a different way of approaching this relationship than you do, because the one you brought into your mind a minute ago is probably not serving you. Take a few breaths and bring in the scene again of that person. And they're going to say what they're going to say. They're going to do what they're going to do. And you can imagine the squabbles that are going to happen. And just breathe as you observe this. And now before you respond, bring in your relationship guide. Ask your relationship guide how you should respond. How can I respond right now from a place of love, integrity, and keeping my boundaries? And just breathe. Take about 10 or 20 deep breaths. When you're ready, roll your shoulders back. When you're ready, rotate your neck if you wish. Feel your breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes, coming back. I'm going to open up for Q&A in just one more second, but I'll give you guys a minute to play with that. Our ability to have a place of love and peace is within ourselves. Our ability to have joy is within ourselves. It's not dependent on Disneyland. It's not dependent on a person making dinner for you. It's not dependent on somebody telling you look great. It's dependent on you. I'll say one more thing before I open up to questions and comments. The biggest thing that we do in relationships, and I alluded to this when I talked about the not good enough, is we're busy judging. The last little tip I'm going to give you about relationships is, and this is actually from the Abraham work, if you can train your mind to see 10 or 15 things about this person that you're in a relationship with, a boss, a child, a husband, a wife, that drives you crazy, train yourself to see 10 or 15 things about them that you adore, then everything's going to change. The specific process from the Abraham books called Ask and It's Given is called a book of positive aspects. What you do is you get a blank journal and you label it your husband's name, your kid's name, your client's name. Every day you write 5 things in there that you adore about the person. Every single day. You're training your mind to look at them through new eyes. Remember that line? I said it last week. When you change the way you look at things, things you look at change. When I change the way I look at my partner as capable, as intelligent, as incredible, as sexy, as hot, he changes. And it doesn't have to be that he needs to go to counseling. It doesn't need that. It doesn't have to be that he has to change anything. It has to be when I look at him that way, then he steps into that energy field. And what happens is he changes. That's how powerful you. That's how powerful you are. Xenia wrote in, I think this will be very helpful for those of you guys who are like, sounds too easy. Book of positive aspects, way too easy. It's so powerful. I'm going to finish that before I read Xenia's comment. Every day, write 5 things, 3 things, I don't care, 4 things. Then what I do is at the end of every month or at the end of every week, I read what I wrote that whole week. And if 2 weeks, I read the last 2 things. And after I read them, I feel it in my body. I feel it. My kid is awesome. He's sweet. He's loving. So I feel it. My brain wants to go, God damn it. Even during this call, he called because he was too lazy to open up the condo building. So he called me to let him in. I'm like, seriously? Right? But I have to train myself to see all of the incredible things about him. And so what Xenia wrote is she did the process called Book of Positive Aspects, and it fixed in her, helping her with a co-parenting relationship. I go back to it every time I get mad. She said it fixed her co-parenting relationships. I go back to it every time I get mad, do it for several days, and everything is back to stable, even good. It's magic. That's how powerful you are. That is how powerful you are. Every day writing 2 or 3 things positive about this person. There is no one in the world you cannot find 2 or 3 positive things. And if you write the same 2 or 3 things every day, great. Over time, your mind will find the other ones. Just want to check if I don't miss anything else. Got quiet. Okay. How are you guys? Any questions, comment? What's coming up? They're telling me there's a few, and maybe there's not. I don't know. Any comments, questions? How are y'all doing? We're good. Because I'm almost done, so I want to make sure. I'm happy to coach anybody who's got something left over. I'll give it a few minutes. I'll see if there's anything left. Y'all are good? Okay, and I'll talk about what I'm teaching in a second, but I'll give it just a minute. I'll make sure there's no screaming comments, questions. Okay, you guys are all quiet. So you guys are all
Can I
good.
share something, Vivi?
Go for it, Barbara.
I just had to get away from the piano lesson. I love when you say and referring to that's how powerful we are, because that to me is the base of it, to think, oh no, you're powerful and you can change this stuff. Because in the times of feeling hopeless or frustrated and knowing all this stuff, you know, this is probably the 3rd time I've heard you say all this stuff. It's like, that is when you say that's how powerful you are. That is like giving me back my magic wand to say, just do this. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I'll say 1 or 2 things from there. Yeah, I'll address that in a second, Fleur. Yeah, Fleur wrote in, she feels dissociated. Very normal. It's just some resistance time. I'll just like, whatever, not fix. Whatever it's called, the videos. And I'll probably send out tomorrow or tonight. If anyone wants, I'm at 5:30, so in half an hour, I'm doing a Facebook Live with Lynette. If anyone wants to hop on, it's on my personal page, which is my first and last name. I'm on Facebook there in about half an hour. If there's anything left over, but I will send out the recording. But Flora, it's just resistance of taking 100% power, 100% ownership. To go to what Barbara said, thank you, Xenia, for typing in your experience, and Barbara for sharing what you're sharing, because it is that powerful. Because guys, this is how it's going to work. You have the same tape recorder over and over again, over and over again about the relationships in your life. Everyone does. If I go to sleep and I wake up in 10 years, I'll be saying the same stuff about my partner unless I do something about it. He can go and lose 500 pounds. He doesn't need to. And he can get 7 abs, and he can, or whatever it's called, 7-pack, and he can become the most enlightened being in the world. But he is just me. So if I don't do my work, nothing changes. And I say this as well, and I want to say 1 or 2 more things. I luckily have been married twice to some fantastic men. I'm really blessed. And some of you know the story. I left my first husband, great guy. I was with him from 22, 23 years of age till 30, 31, somewhere in there. Great guy. And I found myself saying statements to him. We went to counseling together, didn't have any kids together. Went to counseling, and the things you say on a counselor's couch, you remember, right? So then left him, spent some time single, met my second husband. We had a very short courtship, very short. I was also like in my 30s and really wanting a child. So it was like 35, my son comes out of me. I'd known the second husband now for 3 years, I think. This was really short compared to my first. And then fast forward, my kid is like 5 months, 6 months. We're doing diaper changing, breastfeeding, the whole 9 yards. It felt like him and I were in a honeymoon for that whole stage of a couple of years, met, got married really quickly, Then at about 5 or 6 months, when my son was old, I found myself saying stuff to my second husband. It was exactly the same stuff I said to my first husband. I was like, oh crap, I'm the common denominator. And that's when I actually started to realize I could leave this husband, which would have been perfectly fine. I didn't want to raise a child alone. That would seem like a lot of work. So I was like, I just need to work on me. I have no choice. And that really got me deeply into the work I do now, like really deeply. And it's only when I started taking ownership for my stuff that my husband started to shift. And it's been wild to watch, wild. So let me answer Anthony's things. How does this type of work relate to identifying and understanding love language? It's a great question. Everyone has one, and how can we cater to them or have others cater to our own? Is that no, it's not the wrong thinking. Or is it to uncondition them? It's a great question. It's a great question. I'll explain how. So through my own example. So my My love language is words of affirmation and touch. Those are my two. My husband's is more like me doing things for him, whatever that is, like random acts of kindness, whatever that is, gestures. How this work applies to that is before I started to take ownership for myself, and when I took down the wall of judgment to him. So when I started doing the book of positive aspects I talked about, worked on the I'm not good enough stuff. So prior to all that, I'm not going to do an act of service for you, dude. Forget it. You're driving me crazy. Like, I know that you want an act of service. I know you'd love me to bring you a coffee. I would know you'd feel better, but I would never do them. I'd be like, can't be bothered. He's not nice to me. He doesn't rub my feet. He doesn't do my act of service. So why will I bother? Does that make sense, Anthony? I knew it, that his is act of service, but I couldn't be bothered. And then when I started doing this work and I took the wall down, I started to see it was my own crap. Now I'll be out. I was out for coffee with a friend of mine a couple days ago. I'm like, he's never had the coffee from here. I'm going to buy him coffee. I do it all the time. Or I remember one day during a winter storm last year, he had to rush to work. His work isn't too far from here. And he had to shovel the driveway because he owns a business on Granville Street because there was ice and he had to get there so people didn't fall. Ran to work to shovel it. And you hadn't eaten or had coffee or anything. And I had his car that was the snow car and he didn't want to drive it because whatever. He had to rush to work and just went to shovel and the roads weren't clean. So I hate driving in the snow, but it just came to me out of nowhere, Anthony, came to me out of nowhere. Get him coffee and breakfast and drive it to him. I'm like, seriously? I never do stuff like that. But when I started to take the not good enough stuff down, then Anthony, it was very easily for me to do it. So my answer to your question is, the connection is you might know your partner loves foot rubs, but her feet make you smell, no. And the only reason you're doing I'm not no is because you have a block up. You cannot act, at least in my experience personally with all the clients I've worked with, you can know it, but not act on it until you take the wall down. And that requires you. So I hope that makes sense in terms of connecting the two. So it does connect very much so, but it'll be your natural go-to when the wall is down. Check in. Awesome, no problem. Any other comments or questions before I wrap in a second? Okay, no coaching, you guys are good? Okay, cool. You can join me at 5:30. I'll be on Facebook with Lynette. All right, holy figgy. It made a lot of sense. Okay, cool. That's funny. Like, what does figgy mean? I'm teasing Chad. Okay, as I wrap. So you probably saw my website, a relationships course, and you probably noticed there's not a date in there. That's because of me. Anyone who knows me personally knows I love to do what I do. And then I get these downloads of, do this course, do that course, and I get all excited. And then during so I got those downloads to do a relationships course, the Mind, Body, Spirit course back in August, I think. Then I launched them. And then in September, when I was actually in Sedona teaching my workshop, I got the opportunity from Shift Network to teach them in January. And when I do the work I do, you may not know this, but it actually takes energy. So tonight I've got different techniques at home to regain my energy, because everybody who's here, I'm holding you guys. Then those of you I'm privately coaching who I'm just getting hits on, it takes energy. So all you got to know is I get tired. Okay, stuff like, especially when I teach groups. But it's my favorite thing in the world to do, like favorite. But it's also very taxing, like exhausting. So if this is me, it's like, oh, left, there's left and less. So I'll answer that in questions, Xenia. So what I've decided to do is put the relationships on hold for now. But Xenia, your psychic abilities are screaming. So I'm putting the relationships on hold because I've got the Mind, Body, Spirit program where we're going to be addressing all these techniques in that too, but more towards health and mental and emotional well-being and physical. And then so you can always join the Mind, Body, Spirit program. The intake for that is once a month. You can join that. But I'm putting relationships online on hold right now, so I don't end up like a complete disaster on the ground with no energy. Over doing this for years, you learn kind of how much your bandwidth is, and I got the really strong hit that I'm doing Mind, Body, Spirit, relationships, and the Shift Network. I'll have nothing. Oh, and my one-to-one business. Oh yeah, and I have a kid, and yeah, so I have nothing. So I decided to put relationships on hold. But Xenia is super psychic. I know, Barbara, I know, but listen to what I was about to say. So I am going to be doing some in-person stuff on relationships. So, so Barbara, you can also join us from the Mind, Body, Spirit, because the exact same techniques I would teach here, I'm going to be teaching you there. So I know a bunch of you are in the Mind, Body, Spirit, and the intake there is once a month. So the same techniques are being taught there. And if you want to do it more on relationships than body and health, I can easily do that. And then we'll be doing in-person ones. I've got an in-person something coming up at the end of November. It's on my website. I just launched it today. So I hope that makes sense. So the relationships one is on hold just because I won't have the bandwidth and I don't want to deplete myself. And when I teach everything I teach, I want to give it 100%. So that's just who I am. It's my OCD. All right. Any other comments or questions? Make sure. So yes, and I will be, I've got a Mind Body Spirit in-person one launch at the end of November. I'll probably, because just so y'all know, I've been getting the hit to do a relationships weekend as a, what's it called when people go away? A retreat. I don't know when, I don't know what, I just know that's the hit I'm getting. I just don't know when, what, how. So leave that with me, I'll come up with it. So it'll be a 1 day or weekend thing. So I'll let you know. Awesome, cool. Any comments, questions? Awesome, you're welcome, Fleur. Awesome. So I'll send this out tonight or tomorrow, and you can join me on Facebook Live. I'll be there in half an hour. So sending you guys lots of love. You're so welcome. Big love, guys. Have a great night. Enjoy it. Enjoy the nice weather out there. You're so welcome, Emily.